Today we have our second class on this 8-week course on positive neuroplasticity, which is running parallel to the course on meditation, volunteering, and positive neuroplasticity that I'm offering through Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. And the wonderful thing about having this opportunity to practice together is that then we can embody the concepts. For those of you that are coming from that course, we are embodying the concepts that we discuss in class. And for those of you that are not in the course and are missing the wonderful experience of volunteering and the discussions in class and presentations, etc., at least you get to hear a little bit of the main concepts that we were discussing, and so that I have in my mind very much, because that's what we have been processing this week and hearing about this week. And so this week we had the enormous pleasure and privilege, wonderful opportunity to meet Dr. Nazaret Castellanos, who is a neuroscientist from Spain. She has a degree in applied physics, another degree on mathematics and biology, and a degree in medicine. And so some of the concepts that she presented to us are just so wonderful. They are a true revolution in the understanding of neuroscience. I mean, neuroscience already in the last 30 years has been presenting to us from the point of view of science insights that were understood and practiced for thousands of years in the old wisdom traditions and healing traditions of India, China, and other ancient cultures. I refer mainly to India and China because those are the traditions that I have been studying and teaching for over 30 years, but it's also present in other ancient traditions in the world. And the wonderful thing is that in the ancient traditions, they see, like we have many times mentioned in our classes, they see the human being as a continuum of body, mind, and spirit. And also they see all the organs in the body as working together in complementary and harmonious ways. And in fact, in the beginning of the of Western medicine, which is the subject of the next book of Dr. Nazaret Castellanos, in the beginning of Western medicine, Hippocrates and Galen of Pergamo, which for us are still today like the fathers of modern medicine, they also understood the organism as an ecological component of different parts that were, when working in harmony, we had health, and harmony and integration was broken, we had sickness. In fact, in the Eastern traditions, health is understood as balance. And when there is some kind of unease, that balance gets broken, could be through bad digestion or big changes of weather or upset emotions or whatever. Something throws us out of that balance, of that equilibrium, of that homeostasis of the whole community of organs. And then if we cannot pin that unease and go to solve it deeply, then the unease eventually manifests as a disease with more strong symptoms, often localized somewhere. And if at that time of the disease, we again don't go to the deep causes and try to solve them by solving that lack of equilibrium that's happening inside, if we instead of that take medicine to so that the symptoms are not bothering us. So in fact, to kill the symptoms, then we get chronic disease because the body goes, I'm telling you, you're not listening. Okay, I won't talk anymore. And there you have your chronic disease. And unfortunately, with medicine going more into specializing into about the heart or about the colon or about whatever, and also in being more a medicine of numbing the symptoms or removing whatever is wrong, we have lost pretty much the empowering that we are born with of taking care of the whole organism and of going more to the roots of the imbalance and working with them, even if that takes a longer time. And sometimes, of course, it requires much more involvement from ourselves. But who else but the inhabitant of the organism can be the one that has the most power to try to bring back some balance into that organism? Just going to the doctor and saying, stop the symptoms, I'm tired of this headache or this stomach pain or whatever. It's like if we had a car that's giving us red sign, red lights inside in the motor or something, and we go to the mechanic and said, please unplug this because I'm tired of seeing that red light. No, you need to do your inner work and try to see what can you do to help within what's your power, and always with great compassion and persistence, and of course assisted by your doctor or whoever you trust. So I'm not saying drop your doctor or drop your medicine. I'm just saying it's important to also learn to understand our whole organism and work with it. So all this is an aside. Let's go back to cultivating positive neuroplasticity. The other day, we talked about what is neuroplasticity, or the difference between positive and negative neuroplasticity. You can see that in the other video. Today, we're going to talk about the mechanisms that underline that neuroplasticity. So how can we cultivate neuroplasticity, especially starting by our viscera, our organs, and the relation between the gut and the brain, the heart and the brain, the relation of these three very important centers of energy and of knowing and of feeling and perceiving and interpreting. And then next week, we are going to see the component of the vagus nerve with the work of Dr. Stephen Porges, which is coming to talk to us on Wednesday. And so our Saturday community will get the echoes of that wonderful visit that we'll have next Wednesday in the Oli class. So what are the mechanisms of underlying neuroplasticity? Dr. Castellanos proposed some intriguing and baffling relations. She said, do you ever think that you meditate with your gut? And I would also ask, have you ever thought that you think with your colon? Which is even more like, what? No, I only think with my higher powers of the brain. Well, I mean, if we think for a moment, we just stop for a moment and consider, how could it be that for so many years, we just mainly put everything on the brain? It's because we always thought that it's a rational thing. We need to figure everything through the head, which is what we usually use, trying to understand things and figure them out and control them and shape them. Well, neuroscience has been telling us already for 2 decades that your thoughts and your emotions and your actions shape your brain, so that you have the power of influencing the anatomic structure of your brain, which is absolutely mind-blowing to think in these terms, but that's what the studies are showing us, that we have the power to actually change parts of our brain anatomically and also functionally. And the studies show, for example, that after 2 months of meditating, half an hour every day, 45 minutes, there are some changes that happen in the brain, in parts of the brain, like the amygdala, which is deep into the brain, is has the shape of an almond and is a part of the brain that responds more directly to strong emotions. We have, most of us right now, and after the pandemic and after the disasters of climate change and some political disasters here and there, and different continuous states of alert, our amygdala, which usually responds, reacts to extreme alert. So if there is a big danger, like let's say an explosion, we don't think anymore in whatever we were doing. We just mainly concentrate on how to get out of that situation. But the amygdala, which has this wonderful power to alert us and respond by hijacking the prefrontal cortex, which is the one that usually tries to figure everything out and things, and that is just the amygdala fires very strongly, goes, this is all what Dr. Nazareth Castellano was explaining to us, takes a secondary route, not the one that usually has, just goes very quickly to the frontal cortex and hijacks it. So it takes over. And that's when we forget everything else that we were doing and we just totally concentrate on trying to get out of that explosion, that fire, that car accident, whatever it is. And in that case, it's fabulous. Even the fear that we're fearing at the time is fulfilling a function of preserving our life. But when we are all the time, and that's unfortunately what's happening to us after so many different challenges and collective trauma that we have been experiencing, when we are all the time in a state of continuous alert, then that's not good. That on the one hand, immobilizes our capacity to think clearly, to step out of the situation and look in effective ways on how to handle it. It totally affects our immune system and weakens it. It affects our endocrine glands and weakens them, the ones that set not only our mood, but the functioning of the other organs. It upsets our digestion. It troubles our circulation, our heart functioning, our breathing, our sleep, everything. So we need to find ways to, when we notice that we are under that hijacking of the amygdala from the prefrontal to the prefrontal cortex, just to how to calm down. And that's some of the practices that we're going to be doing right now. And for that, meditation, different kinds of contemplations, some movements, breath, release points help a lot to interrupt that hijacking and go back into some state of balance and homeostasis. So coming back to the question about, have you ever thought that you meditate with your gut? Or do you think that the gut has any influence on your thinking? And again, here I'm referring to what Dr. Nazareth Castellanos was showing us in her PowerPoint presentation and in her reflections with us. She said that, let's start from down up, starting with the gut. The gut, the stomach, is the one that produces the most serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter and hormone that tends to give us a sense of calmness and fulfillment. The most amount of it is produced through our digestive system. And the brain, through the vagus nerve, receives 80% of the stimulus that will then influence our decisions and our action, and all that are coming from the viscera up, from the abdomen, from the digestive tract, and also from the heart. And so that 80% of however we are feeling, whatever sensations we have, emotionally, physically, also at the level of what we eat, all of those sensations are coming up, and the brain doesn't discern, doesn't say, hey, no, you are afraid, but there is not so much danger right now. No, it will say, you are afraid, we are in danger, more adrenaline, more to feed more of what you are feeling. So for that, it's so important that we learn to work with our abdomen, with our guts, with our heart, to calm the rest of the body, so that then what is being sent up to the brain is, we are okay, we are safe. Smiling is a great thing because it tricks the brain into we are safe, and then it sends more serotonin. I mean, it's tragic, right? That it only will send more of the same that we already have inside. And for that, it's so important that we work with this. The wonderful thing is that we do have this power, that our organism is just so amazing, and that this knowledge from ancient cultures is also so wonderful, that we can work with our inner space. And that also requires a bit of a change of perspective, instead of always thinking, well, my happiness is dependent on what's happening outside. So if things are calm outside, or if things are going just the way I want, I will be happy. If things are not, I'll be frazzled, and I will be angry, and I will be depressed. So now it's saying, no, you have a protagonic role in your health, in your happiness, in your inner peace. It depends how you respond to the triggers. And life is always going to give us problems. We didn't come here to have an easy ride. We came here to confront challenges and learn. And then also lovely things, also lovely experiences. And some of the lovely experiences come after we learn to confront the challenges and somehow move forward. So if we get passionate, enthusiastic about how can I learn to work with my organism, then we can do a lot about improving our health, improving our relationships, improving our sleep, improving our digestion. Okay, I know I'm talking a lot, and that you probably just want to go to the practices, and we will. Okay, so just a few more details. When Nazaret Castellanos was talking with us about the influence between the gut and the brain, she said, well, not only it sends the hormone of serotonin, and not only is very important what you eat, your diet, because that will be giving the chemical reactions that then the rest of your body is carrying. So it's very important to have a healthy diet, which would be mainly greens, very good food for the brain and the gut and the microbiome, is greens with a little bit of roughage, some fruits, some legumes, and beans, and dry fruits like walnuts and almonds. Not too oily. Peanuts are not so great because it's more taxing of the liver and others that have to process the oily stuff. And of course, meat is not ideal. If you can cut your meat or completely rule it out, it would be better. But these are just general recommendations, and of course, no alcohol and no sugar, or as little as you can manage. Those would be good parameters for having a healthy microbiome. What's a microbiome? That's another more or less recent, I would say 10 years, discovery of neuroscience, that we have these almost 2 kilograms of small organisms that affect our mood totally and our health. And that the health of the microbiome, which are, again, many different organisms that need to collaborate and live as a community in harmony, is affected by the diet, by whether you are sedentary or not. So going out, walking in nature, wonderful for your microbiome. Having a more or less varied diet within the lines that I was giving you, having different foods. So diet, exercise, and for exercise, I understand walking, dancing. You don't need to go to the gym, but a little bit of cardio is good, but you can get your cardio dancing alone. Even if you dance strange, doesn't matter. The body likes being moving, stretching, just whatever. All right. So, and then of course, yoga, qigong, beautiful exercises, biking, even gardening, beautiful exercise. Okay. So diet, exercise, and if at all possible, sleep. And I'm not going to go into that today, but there are some videos about that in the New Paradigms. You can find it. So she was saying the diet is important because of the chemical reactions, but the other very important thing with the digestive tract is that from the microbiome and the digestive tract, there are alpha waves that are sent through the vagus nerve, which we are going to see next week, to the brain. And the alpha waves are super important to be able to experience peace and to, especially to calm down a little bit the neural activity of the brain. You know that your mind, your brain is always fighting in different areas of the brain, memories, plans, concerns, external input. It's always, I like someone had this similarity, like it's like monkeys in a cage, and those monkeys have been bitten by a scorpion. And so it's, and that's more or less what they call the neuronal red by defect. That's the usual way that our mind is. We need to work on calming our abdomen, calming our heart, calming our body, so that then there is more calmness in the brain. And the waves that help to calm that activity are the alpha waves. They are like waves with a very slow rolling that come from the abdomen to the brain. So, and from the colon to the brain. So in fact, yes, we do meditate with our colon. And yes, our colon influences our way of thinking. Okay, and then she talked about the heart and how the heart and the brain are also always communicating. And in that communication, the one that rules is the heart. So for us to be able to understand and to remember, there is a resonance between the brain and the heart, and the brain is paying attention to each of the firings of the heart. So like right now, if you are paying attention to this and you are involved in it and whatever, you will remember. If at some moment your brain goes into some other memory or some other plan or whatever, probably what was said at that time, you will not remember, because the brain has what's called attentional blink. An attentional blink happens when your brain somehow is not responding to your heart. So at the level of resonance with electrical impulses. So there is much more, but let's go to the practices. I just wanted to give you some little bit of background about the possible changes if you meditate, cultivate positive neuroplasticity every day for half an hour, maybe 15 minutes in the afternoon. 15 minutes before you go to sleep and 15 minutes when you just wake up. I know your days are probably busy, but if you carve a time before going to sleep and when you just wake up, it's possible you can do it. And if you do that every day for 2 months, if you do that half an hour every day for 2 months, then there will be anatomical changes in your brain, your amygdala will be reduced, and your frontal cortex will be strengthened. So when there is a challenge or a threat, the amygdala is not going to hyperatrophy again and stay stuck on that. It's going to not be has so much tendency to negative reactivity. And your prefrontal cortex also will be stronger and would not be so easily hijacked. And all that comes from these practices that we're going to do and that I invite you to do every day. You can use the video if you want to practice along, or they are very simple. Let's just experience them together, and then maybe you can just practice them at home, or maybe they'll remind you some other practices that you have experienced that help you to feel very grounded and calm at these levels. So first, we are going to start with the gut, and remembering all this background of how important is the gut, because it sends alpha waves, these slow rolling waves that stop distractions, and so allow the brain to more easily come up with intuitions and other things, because there is not so much chatter and noise all around. So we are going to find a point. Let me see here. We are going, like, my navel would be like around there. So 3 finger breaths down from the navel, like around here. You find your own navel. And 3 finger breath down from your navel. You'll find a point that comes from traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, acupressure. So you can, by pressing with your finger there, bring your attention and intention to this point that's called sea of energy. And it's the energy of how you relate also to yourself. So we want a calm sea of energy. You know, sometimes when you're looking at the sea and it's really calm, you can see it almost like if it's breathing. The surface has a little bit of movement, and it's just almost like if it's breathing, but underneath there is this quietness, obviously, because the movement is more at the surface. So I'm going to invite you to have that kind of sensation here. We are going to either have our fingers there, our middle fingers, the longest and the strongest, or we can use the center of our palms, which we all have, which are healing hands. So we are going to put the center of our palm, if you like, or your finger, whatever you prefer, right there at the area of the Sea of Tranquility Point. One hand, I'm choosing for now, one hand on top of the other there. Sitting, if you can, with the spine straight and the body relaxed. Of course, the posture is important because it also sends signals to the brain that we are all right if our posture is more or less straight. Of course, you can do this also laying down and just enjoy the support of the bed or the floor. So we bring our hands there to the area of the abdomen. And we are going to experience abdominal breath, which is the most calming breath. So as we exhale, our abdomen comes a little bit in. And as we inhale, we allow the air to go all the way down. And our abdomen inflates a little bit. And we feel the pressure a little bit against our hands. And when the time comes to exhale, we start exhaling the abdomen. So just find your own rhythm of very gentle surfing of the waves of the breath at the surface of your abdomen. It's almost mesmerizing to notice how the air comes in and inflates the abdomen very gently, and how the air goes out and the abdomen comes in. And inviting a deep sense of stillness at the level of your abdomen, all the depths down to your colon, too. Finding your own rhythm of inhaling and exhaling abdominal breath, which is the way that babies breathe and animals breathe, very gentle. You don't have to force anything. You have arrived home, your inner home. Letting go of anything that might be troubling you, putting your backpacks down, any luggage. Just for this moment, just for this inhalation and this exhalation. Notice if when you smile there is any extra softening of your inner space. Anything that makes you smile, even a very small smile, gentle smile, will be good, will be enough. Smiling because you're alive, because you can breathe. At this moment, your stomach and your whole digestive tract is relaxing and is sending up through your vagus nerve alpha waves, which are these slow rolling electrical pulses that help the whole body to relax. And the brain is happy and is sending also more serotonin for you to relax even more. So of course, we could keep doing this, experiencing this for longer. For the sake of time, I'm going to now move to the next area, but of course you can do this practice whenever you want, for as long as you want. It's non-invasive, it's very calming, grounding. And since the sea of energy has to do also with your relation to yourself, sometimes self-doubt or judging, blame, guilt, any kind of harsh dialogue. And sometimes we are really harsh with ourselves. The sea of energy is one that helps to calm down all that too. So you are doing a multi-layer approach with your healing hands on your sea of energy, on the relation to yourself, and on the health of your digestive tract and your microbiome and your colon, and with the waves, the alpha waves that are rolling through your whole organism and are stopping some of that hyperactivity that the brain goes on blindly when we are with one challenge after another, like we have been lately. And lately, I mean, the last 2 years, plus any kind of other personal challenges that we face. So the next other great area that Dr. Nazares Castellanos was talking with us about was about the axis between the heart and the brain, and how if the guts are organs of feeling, of just kind of a gut feeling of sensations, raw sensations, the heart and its electrical impulses and its way of affecting the brain is the organ of perceiving. And that's very interesting because in Chinese, for example, in the ideograms, where the ideograms for studying, for learning, for remembering, for knowing, all of those ideograms have at the root the image of the heart. So the heart perceives the world, and it's like our journey to the world and back is done with the heart. And let me just give you, well, one of the things that we learned was a thing about attentional blink. Another very interesting one is called refractory period. And the refractory period is that when we are, let's suppose, very angry with someone, we are very upset, the kind of waves that go up to the amygdala and the insula, which is another part right in the center of the brain, hijack the brain in such a way that it only can remember the negative things about that person. So it keeps feeding, the negative emotion keeps feeding the negative feeling, and we are just stuck in it. And we are justifying everything that we are feeling about this other person, only remembering the bad things about that person. We don't remember the good things because at that time, we are in this refractory period where the whole capacity to remember and to discern and to bring a new slant into the situation to be able to solve it is blocked. And possibly the same is happening into the other person. So the advantage of knowing this is that once we know, oh, I think I'm in this refractory period, I'm only seeing the negative here, let me stop, let me have some breathings and see if I can get myself out of that hijacking from the amygdala to the cortex, from frontal cortex. Okay, so with the heart, let's put our hands here again. We are going to be using our healing palms. And at the center of our breastbone, if you go along the breastbone, 4 finger breaths from the end of the breastbone up. So more or less at the height of the nipples in the breast, on the breastbone, you'll find an indentation. That indentation is a seat for the Sea of Tranquility Point. Another sea, right? Sea of Energy, and now this is Sea of Tranquility. I'm not making up the names. This is straight from traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture and acupressure. So at the Sea of Tranquility Point, we're going to either be pressing there with our middle finger, which is the longest and strongest, just to be able to bring our attention and keep it there. Or better still, we bring our hands, our healing hands, and put it in the area of the Sea of Tranquility Point. And just putting the hands like that already brings you a sense of some calmness. And now we're going to combine it with breathing, inhaling slowly, gently, and deeply, feeling how the chest expands. And exhaling. Let's do a few with exhaling through the nose, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. Always slowly, gently, and deeply, feeling how the chest expands. And inviting a sensation of connection, interconnection, love with nature, with others, whatever comes to you at this moment. Choose what works more easily, and then other time you can work with it more difficult if you like. So a sense of expansiveness, of interconnection with everything around. And of letting go of any sense of limitation or burdening emotions. Just for this moment, just now. Giving your heart a chance to enter into a sense of relaxation and peace, of union. Of oneness. At our very essence, we are love. And maybe remember a moment when you felt love or when you felt loved, or both. An easy moment, so that you can start by registering in your system this sense of calmness and awe, gratitude. At this moment, our brain is learning to cultivate positive neuroplasticity in terms of reconciling would be to hardwire happiness. We hardwire happiness in our system by remembering moments of happiness and going to those moments and just sensing them, enriching them, holding to them, because like he says, we are like Teflon for happiness and like Velcro for unhappiness. And we are trying to solve the unhappiness, and then we keep going back there and keep ingraining it in our neural pathways. But we can also once in a while give ourselves a break by remembering something dear, tender to us, even if it's from the distant past or whenever, just some experience, some happy experience of connection with nature or with others. And know that your heart and your brain are resonating. For whatever reason this practice is difficult for you right now, you can go back to the one of just feeling grounded at the level of the abdomen. You are the expert on your body. You are the expert on your mind at this moment. I mean, you're always the expert, but on what's going on, and just adapt so that you can enjoy the practice. At the abdomen or at the heart. And finally, what Dr. Nazaret Castellanos was also reflecting with us is that when we meditate together, our hearts synchronize. So even if we are distant, we are only connecting through Zoom, our hearts are synchronizing. And when you are with someone else, looking at their eyes, your hearts and brains are synchronizing. If you are smiling to each other, your hearts and brains are synchronizing. There are experiments even with people that go to a concert, classical music concert, whatever, and they are all kind of enjoying the music. I imagine they had also put some things into them, and they noticed that after a while they are synchronizing. So we have a possibility, strong possibility within our organism to go into those spaces of peace and of union and of compassion. And that is the reason why I included the volunteering component in the meditation, volunteering and cultivating neuroplasticity, because in the moment when you are meeting someone else in a inner space of befriending them, there is a great possibility for growing and for compassion. And we did a meditation on loving kindness. Unfortunately, it's already 3:00, so that meditation would take at least like 20 more minutes, but I do have some meditations on love and kindness practice that you can also find to then go into these spaces, or you can find it also with other teachers, or maybe you already know it from your practice. So, or just be kind to your neighbor, your children, your pet, your whoever you cross in the street, smile to them. And sometimes they'll smile back, sometimes they don't, but it doesn't matter. You are doing it, just you're radiating whatever first you cultivate in your heart. I'm going to do with you a brief practice of a movement that comes from Qigong, the contemplative movement. And I think it very much illustrates, there are several of them that would very well illustrate what we were talking about today, but this is a very simple one. I think you will remember it maybe from other classes, and if not, I'm very happy that you're learning it today. The movement is called Wise Owl Gets Rid of Fatigue and Ailments. And the movement is like this. First, I'll show you sitting in case you prefer or need to be sitting, and then standing. So the movement is like this. The hands come up in a relaxed way to shoulder height. And then as we are inhaling, and then we turn slowly the head to one side, and then turn the head to the center and exhale at the same time that we gently push the hands down, all the way down. And then when the time comes to inhale again, we inhale and we look to the other side, gentle rotation of the head. And then we bring the head to the center and we exhale as the hands come down. And we are going to repeat that several times. I like this movement because to me it represents I'm working with my mind in the present moment, and then my mind goes to the past. And that happens to all of us all the time. And then I remember and I bring it to the center, to the present moment, and then I allow everything to settle and relax. I am trying to be in the present, inhaling. My mind goes to the future, concerns about the future, whatever. And then I remember, no, let's bring it to the present moment, to embody tranquility. Then I exhale and allow everything to relax. So I think you're going to remember the movement. Center, and then exhaling and relaxing. And the symbolic meaning of the movement, inhaling, the mind goes away, brain has a attentional blink, bring it to the present moment, exhale and relax. And now let's do it standing, see how it goes. If you were sitting for a long time before you stand, tap a little bit around your kneecaps and your legs to make sure that you're fine for standing. Okay. So again, this movement comes from Qigong. Qigong coming from ancient wisdom tradition and healing traditions from China, traditional Chinese medicine. And we are working with the body and the mind at the same time. Okay, so we start with the feet shoulder width apart, body straight and relaxed. We imagine the head being like a sphere, perfect to balance on top of the sphere of the chest, both of them on top of the sphere of the abdomen, the three spheres being supported by the hips and the legs, and the feet in contact with the ground. And we are going to raise our toes and lower them. I'm also doing it with the fingers of my hands, the fingers, so that you can see it more easily. But I want you to be concentrating mainly on the contact of the soles of your feet with the floor, feeling the whole contact as you raise, if at all possible, the toes and lower them, and also finding your natural balance. Yeah. Let's have the feet a little bit more up. Okay, so we are going to allow the hands to float up as we inhale and we look to the left, and then we bring the head forward and we exhale and push down. Inhale. And to the other side. Bring the head to the center, to the present moment. Exhale. Push down. Let's do two more of this. Inhaling. You look at the past, that maybe problems, painful situations, whatever from the past. Come back to the center, to this moment of peace and tranquility. Allow everything to settle without ignoring it and without repressing it, just by cultivating broader frame around it. Inhaling, maybe looking to the future, any concerns, fears. Remember, come back to the present moment and keep breathing and creating a wider framework around it. Now we're going to look to the past and the future, but in a positive way, in more like, okay, I'm inhaling the present moment. And as I look to the past, I thank all the experiences that I have had that have brought me to this moment. Come back fully into this moment and allow everything to settle. Also remembering and realizing that even the painful situations are part of this journey of developing greater consciousness. Inhaling. Maybe the mind goes to the future. This time we're thinking and contemplating our better self, the ways we want to grow. We come back to the present moment, which is where we construct moment to moment our future. And exhale and hold all that together in our present moment. One last one, 2 ways. I'll be silent. You do the movement and work with what you want. Trusting yourself and your amazing organism. That will always respond to the practices that you do, learning a little bit at a time. Let's do one more. Both sides. Inviting healing. From working moment to moment. Then we bring our feet together, hands together. First at our forehead, counting our blessings. Especially one blessing at this moment that you want to remember and help to be with you, to make you smile. And then lowering our hands to our heart. Feeling the connection between all of us. This time through Zoom. And from this space of abundance and healing, of gratitude, we send a waft of peace to someone who at this time is struggling, a friend of us, someone that we know, we care about. And imagine the person wherever she is or he is, receiving this blessing. And surprise, her burden or his burden lifted, and receiving our love, a gentle breath of ease and care. They're all interconnected, always. So we working on ourselves so that then we can also be available to others and to ourselves, but also to others. Thank you for coming. Thank you for practicing. I hope some of this stays with you and that you practice.